Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at some stuff that got found in the code for Pokemon Go in the version 305.0, and it's around the battle feature, so definitely stay tuned. If you can read the title, you must know what it's about. But yeah, there have been some stuff found towards the battle feature, so here we're going to see also some classes got added, which is not really, don't know really what it's going to do, but we're going to see here some more things are related to battles that got found. Of course, stuff is obfuscated, so like you cannot actually read all of the stuff in the code, but this is what they found. And you're gonna see here some normal stuff like battle join, battle quit, stuff like this, but also what we see here is item, and then there's like I don't know, like equals, and like we don't really know what this is going to be. So items, which you see already in the main series games, might be a thing, and afterwards we're gonna see here actor ability, and a little bit further down we see ability trigger. And like now people are wondering, are we gonna get items and abilities for PvP? And so for this video today, I kinda want to take a look at like what kind of abilities would be very broken for PvP, what kind of items could come into PvP, and my opinion about it, which I'm gonna say at the end of the video. But let's hop right into the abilities. So you're gonna take a look at some abilities here that would be very interesting for PvP. So yeah, they're going to be mostly some timestamps as well for this kind of stuff. First off, we're going to have Intimidate. This is going to be one of the best abilities that you have in the main series games as well, and this is going to be on a lot of Pokemon. What this does is basically, as soon as this Pokemon enters the battle, every time this Pokemon enters the battle, the attack from the opponent gets lowered by 1 stage. So basically, if you would go ahead and play your Arcanine and you use it in the lead, you already would start off with an advantage of the opponent being at -1 attack, which would make this Pokemon way more bulky, of course, but of course the opponent could swap out and then the ability would be kinda gone. But if you swap out then and you come back in later, you would still be able to drop the opponent's attack again. So this would be very interesting for it. It would be definitely a very strong ability, and a lot of Pokemon can learn, like Quillfish, like Gyarados, Hitmontop, Mawile would be very interesting as well as the Raptor, Crocodile, Scrafty especially, Landorus in the Master League, holy hell, this thing would be insane. And Cinerail is really well known for the VGC people out there, very good Pokemon for this one, but a lot of Pokemon learn this ability, and it would be definitely an interesting one. Intimidate is definitely an interesting one for that for sure. And next ability that I kind of want to take a look at is a Regenerator. What this ability does is basically every time you basically take damage and whatever on a Pokemon, but then swap out, as soon as you swap out, you're going to regain 33% of your maximum HP. So basically, if the opponent just farms it down a little bit, goes for a charge move, and you swap out later on, you can basically nearly fully heal your Pokemon if you swap like long enough, or like several times, for example, you're going to be able to heal more up. So, for example, you can even go for using a Regenerator Pokemon in the lead, staying in for a little bit, let it go down to like 33% of its own health, swap out into your next Pokemon. As soon as this Pokemon faints, you're going to already have 66% on your Pokemon before. You can go back into this and swap out immediately into your final Pokemon, and then you have still a full health Pokemon in the back, and you basically regenerated 66% of your health in just one game. And that would be also kinda busted, I have to say. A lot of Pokemon can actually learn like the Slowpoke line, for example. Corsola, Ho-Oh for the Master League. Ho-Oh already is very overpowered in the Master League, so that is kinda wild. Amoonguss also something interesting. Alomomola would be interesting. Tornadus maybe actually being decent. Toxapex would be completely busted most likely with this one, but this would be like a really cool ability as well that would come in. But now we're gonna go to the really overpowered abilities. One of them is huge power. What this does is basically, as soon as you enter the battle, your attack stat doubles. And so basically the base stat is still going to stay the same, so the CP are not going to change. Just as soon as you enter the battle, your attack stat is doubling up, which is just kinda wild, because Azumarill learns it. And Azumarill would really appreciate this ability for sure, because it would be completely overpowered in the Great League, because you would basically have the most bulkiest Pokemon that is also going to be the most attack-rated Pokemon just because of the ability. Otherwise, we're going to have here also Diggersby as an option, or Mawile. Both Pokemon here, Mega Mawile by the way, not the normal Mawile. Yeah, but for Diggersby especially as well, like this Pokemon would benefit as well from this quite a bit, and it is just kind of mad on how strong this would be and could be for the future. But for sure, this would be a very interesting ability to come into the game as well here. I'm not going to take a look at all abilities. For example, here you see for Azumarill as well, Thick Fat as a different ability. This would be allowing you to take less damage from fire and ice type moves, which doesn't really matter because they already resist them. But Sap Sipper would be also very interesting, which basically would give you an attack boost as soon as you're gonna get hit by a grass type move, and the grass type move basically doesn't do damage against you. So like there are going to be even more abilities I'm not gonna take a look at right now that would be really interesting. One of them would be this one for sure as well. But let's move on to the next one, which is Pure Power. This is exactly the same as the one before, just has a different name, but the Pokemon that gets it is Medicham. And this would be like completely overpowered. This thing would be completely shredding the meta. And this like the thing as well. Here, this is the first ability for this Pokemon. Like this is the main ability that it has. It doesn't have a second ability. So basically it's always going to be the case that this Pokemon has this one. And it would make just this Pokemon insanely overpowered towards where it's like literally most likely the best Pokemon of them all. You cannot play it without it. It's just like so busted. And so I don't know if this is going to be a great change either, but there are going to be some more abilities which you can take a look at right now as well. For example, Shadow Tag. Shadow Tag would be an ability which prevents the opponent of swapping out unless they are a ghost type, I think. And we have here some Pokemon that learn it, for example the Wobbuffet, which is like the, of course, best example for it. So if the opponent leads, for example, with like somewhat of a steel type Pokemon that is very weak to counter, you swap in your Wobbuffet, they cannot swap out. They're stuck in this matchup like they would have swapped out before or whatever. They are stuck in this matchup and they cannot do anything about this. And this would be kind of busted, I would say. Like Shadow Tag is already very strong in the main series games as well. But again, for Wobbuffet, this is the main ability that this Pokemon would have. And so Wobbuffet would be all of a sudden one of the best Pokemon in the meta as well with this ability, just because any kind of steel type, any Pokemon that is like weak to it, you can just trap and they cannot go out of that matchup. You just basically get a free switch with that as well later on. So this as like a closer or whatever is just so busted, because as soon as you have a decent matchup for it, like the opponent cannot do anything to basically swap out and like revert it or whatever. So very overpowered ability. There's a different option as well with it, which would be Arena Trap. Duck Trio, which also recently got like a new move update as well as Trapinch would learn them. Of course, not really the best Pokemon, but still it would be kind of interesting because it's kind of functioning the same. And yeah, like basically trapping certain type of Pokemon would be kind of wild. There's also a Magnet Pole basically that would only allow you to basically trap steel type Pokemon, so it's not as strong as those abilities. But Arena Trap and Shadow Tag would be like absolutely wild. Moving on, we're going to have next up Adaptability. This is going to allow you to have Double Step. Double Step would be so wild on some of the Pokemon as well, like Crawdon. Basically Crawdon with a Double Step, Waterfall would just completely destroy everything in terms of like the damage output that you could get with it. Or like Porygon even with like something like a Hyper Beam that would like literally one-shot it through everything. The most prominent Pokemon here would be Dragalge with like a Double Step, Dragon Tail doing even more damage. It would be absolutely wild. So like this ability definitely would be also very interesting to take a look at. We have two more that are very decent, or like three more actually that are really decent for this one, I think. We're going to have here next on a Moxie. Moxie is going to be a very interesting ability as well. Basically, as soon as you knock out a Pokemon, your attack stat rises. So basically, if the opponent has just a very low Pokemon, you can go ahead and swap in your Moxie Pokemon and just like finish up the final few HP. You're gonna get an insane attack boost as well with it immediately. And like the opponent cannot really do anything about it. And something like Gyarados again would really appreciate this one and would maybe allow you to have like Pokemon like Scrafty as well to be like complete sweepers for the Go Battle League. So that would be something interesting as well. Moxie for sure. Kind of similar is Beast Boost is going to boost the best stat of them. But for example, imagine a Katana that gets like a Beast Boost as well. Like this thing already does so much damage. Same goes for like Buzzwole. Like basically you would boost the attack again for this Pokemon. And yeah, like there would be just so overpowered. Like if, for example, Celesteela most likely would knock something out, you would most likely get a defense boost instead. But like honestly, would be interesting abilities to come in there as well. Final ability, or like final good ability would be, for example, Protean. There's also something similar than Protean, which I think only Cinderace can learn. But Protean would be able to basically, if you go for a charge move from a certain type, your type changes to, like, your actual type just changes to this type that you just used in terms of a charge move. For example, if Greninja goes for Aerial Ace, which is a flying type move, it changes immediately from Water Dark to Flying, gets stab on this move, but also keep like basically has then no weakness anymore for Grass type Pokemon, for example, then, because you're going to be good against Grass type Pokemon. This only works for the first charge move that you basically use as soon as this Pokemon is in. So like it would reset, I think, as soon as you swap out, but you have to basically go for one charge move in order for this ability to work first. Would be an interesting one, especially for Kecleon, because you have so much coverage there, so you could choose like kind of different types for it. But this would be the first good one. Well, like it would be a good one here. Here we have an ability that, for example, could not work really in Pokemon Go though. And this is like a thing as well, which I feel like is making abilities a thing that I don't think ever gonna be in the game, even though we have like stuff in the code. This could be something completely different, completely like differently related to it. But here we're gonna see Multiscale. What Multiscale does is, if you had full HP, the next charge, like the first charge move, or like the first move that you're gonna get basically on you, is going to do half damage. But with a move, like with a game basically that is also around fast moves, you basically would break Multiscale immediately with the first fast move that you're gonna go for, and basically the ability would have next to no impact at all to like towards a battle. And so I feel like, unless you're gonna catch a move, of course, and like this would be the first damage that you take from a charge move, like this ability basically would have next to no use in this one. And so there are abilities that would be able to work, but there are a lot of abilities that wouldn't be able to work. So I doubt that we're gonna get abilities in Pokemon Go, I have to say that. I don't think that this would really work out at all. Something that I'm more open towards would be the items, which we kind of found as well already. And here, for example, there are some very decent items from the main series games that we could also see in Pokemon Go. For example, Leftovers. Here, Leftovers going to generate HP over time on the user. Basically, every time a turn ends or whatever, the user of Leftovers, like the Pokemon that would hold it, would gain some HP back. I think it's like 1/16 of its HP. Don't know like what they would do for Pokemon Go for this. Maybe every 5 seconds or every 3 seconds you're gonna gain back a little bit of HP. Would be interesting for sure, would not be too broken, and I think this would be kind of fine. Then we have choice items. There's Choice Band, Choice Scarf, and Choice Specs. Choice Band, Choice Specs are boosting basically the different kind of attack stats, either special or normal attack, while Choice Scarf would boost speed. Speed is not in Pokemon Go. Speed is kind of both in, I think it's maybe even in HP, it's definitely an attack stat and defense stat put into it, for example, like in equal ways. So for example, for PvP, very speedy Pokemon are usually not very preferred, because both attack as well as defense get boosted by it, and you kind of don't really want to have a very attack weighted Pokemon. Defense is like king for PvP, so it's not really ideal for it. So wonder how this would work. Like Choice Band, Choice Specs would work though. It would basically give you an immediately attack boost, but for choice items you only can use basically one move with that. Like either, I don't know how they would do it, like either you're locked into only going for fast moves, or you're locked into only going for a certain charge move from like 2, but like I don't know how they want to do this. But this would be a very strong item from the main series game. Something that I rather see and like think would be also kind of interesting would be something like berries. There's like Sitrus berry, for example, that as soon as the user drops below half HP, you're gonna get 25% of your HP back, but like the Sitrus berry is just then gonna be gone afterwards. So it's kind of like a little bit of an HP boost, which can change some games up as well, which I think would be a little bit more interesting as well. Next up, we're going to have here the Assault Vest. Assault Vest would be basically giving you an immediate boost of your defense. In the main series games, you cannot use anything other than like damaging moves with this item equipped. But for, of course, PvP, it's all damaging moves. There's nothing else, so this would be an interesting item. Then we have Rocky Helmet. Rocky Helmet basically would do damage to the opponent as soon as they're gonna hit you with a charge move that does like contact, or like a fast move that does contact. So this would be kind of interesting to get some damage onto the opponent by an item. Weakness policy is something that I also feel like is kind of interesting. Basically, as soon as you're gonna get hit by a move that is super effective against you, your special attack and your normal attack buffs by 2 stages. So I think even in the main series, like in Pokemon Go, it would be just like a buff for your attack by 2 stages as soon as you get hit by a super effective move. Would be very interesting. Next one would be Expert Belt. This is going to allow you to do basically another stab bonus onto moves that are super effective against the opponent, which would make Pokemon that have great coverage, like Mew, for example, very, very strong. would be a cool item as well, wouldn't be really too overpowered either. And then the one that is most likely the most interesting one is Life Orb. Life Orb gives you a 33% boost onto your attack, basically. But also, every time you go for, most likely here, a charge move, it would get rid of 10% of your health for that. So that is kind of like you're going to get hurt yourself, but you do way more damage against the opponent as well. But yeah, those would be some very interesting items that I could see as well actually coming into Pokemon Go. So when we take a look again at what was found in the code, I would rather see items than abilities. I think abilities is not a good thing for PvP. I could see items work if the items that you can use are very limited to only like a few select ones that would actually be not broken. I think this would be really, really interesting to see items come into play. But yeah, let me know in the comment section, what do you think about it? Would you like to see abilities? What abilities would you like to see? Would you like to see items? And what items would you like to see? Let me know down below. But that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.